If you're running meta ads in 2026 the same way you did last year, before Andromeda, you are leaving money on the table. Today, I'm going to give you the complete 2026 system to run meta ads that are profitable, scalable, and stable. And I don't just mean theory. This is the same process I used with this D2C brand to more than double sales after Black Friday, while cutting the CPA and scaling to nearly $150,000 a month, to take this clothing brand from $600 a week to nearly $3,000 a day in just 7 weeks. And I've used to spend nearly $200,000 of my own money on my own business. In this video, I'm going to show you what matters, every key screen, the metrics to watch, and the decisions to make. And I'm going to also show you what to ignore. It's broken into chapters and timestamps down below so you can follow start to finish, or save it and come back to jump to whatever you need. With that being said, let's start with the foundation, because this is the first piece. And if you don't get it right, nothing you build afterwards will scale. Ever since Meta dropped the Andromeda update, ad accounts that used to print money just don't anymore. And the reason is Meta rewrote the rules of the game, how ads are delivered, who sees them, and how success is measured. And until you understand what really changed, your results won't get any better. What really changed wasn't what the machine is trying to do, it's how harshly it punishes you for doing the wrong things. Andromeda isn't optimizing for who gets the last click anymore. It's optimizing for incrementality, the total lift across your entire system. So instead of showing your ad to people most likely to buy right now, it's showing your ad to people most likely to buy who wouldn't have without the ads. And that changes everything. ROAS was about who could steal the most credit. Andromeda is about who can drive the most growth. Because the system isn't just feeding you easy wins anymore. It's helping you build a better business. And if you're still chasing ROAS like it's profit, you're playing checkers while everyone else is playing chess. The board looks the same, but the rules of the game have completely changed. Let me paint you a picture, because this is where everything about how we used to measure success starts to fall apart. This is Susan. On Monday morning, Susan's scrolling through Facebook while she waits on a drink at her favorite coffee shop. She sees your ad. She watches for a few seconds, keeps scrolling, doesn't buy. On Tuesday, she's on Instagram. She sees an ad from you, again, same brand, different creative. She pauses, she reads the long caption, and then keeps scrolling. Later that day, she searches your brand name on Google, clicks a search ad, lands on your site, looks around, adds something to her cart, signs up for that little pop-up to save 15%, and then gets distracted and leaves. Wednesday, she opens up her inbox. There's a welcome email from your brand, the one she got after signing up on your site. She skims it, doesn't click, but she remembers the name. Thursday morning, she sees one of your carousel ads. She likes it, she scrolls through a bunch. She might even share it, but still doesn't buy. That afternoon, she gets retargeted again in Instagram stories, twice in the same day. This time, she taps through, lands back on your site, scrolls a little bit, and closes the tab again. Then comes Friday. Friday morning, she's on Instagram, and there you are again. Same brand, new ad, something just a little bit more direct maybe. Friday afternoon, she's back on Facebook. She scrolls through her feed, and there it is again, your ad. That evening, she opens up her email, clicks through to that message from Wednesday. And a few minutes later, she searches your brand on Google one more time. She clicks another search ad and finally buys the exact product she left in her cart 3 days ago. Now, here's the crazy part. Every single one of those touch points, Facebook, Instagram, Google, Klaviyo, everyone takes credit for that same sale. They all claim they caused it. But we both know that's not how it works. That last ad that showed up before Susan bought, it didn't cause the purchase. It just happened to be the one she saw last. ROAS gives full credit to whoever shows up last. Like saying the cup of water she drank at mile 25 in a marathon is the reason she finished it. Yeah, that cup of water helped, but it's not the reason she finished. It's not the reason she even started. It's not the reason she trained for months, picked the right shoes, built up her endurance, or decided to run the race in the first place. The reason she crossed that finish line is so much more than the last thing that she did. And that is the illusion of ROAS. The ads that created trust and awareness and momentum and intent. The ones that even made that sale possible. Meta's AI isn't trying to find who got the last click anymore. It's trying to understand what actually moves Susan from some rando at the coffee shop killing time on Facebook waiting for her quad shot half-craft espresso to becoming your customer. It's looking at every impression, every scroll, every skipped ad and asking, what actually changed her behavior? That is incrementality. And for the first time ever, that is what Meta is optimizing for. That is what Andromeda changed. It isn't optimizing for the fastest sale. It's optimizing for the healthiest customer journey that is the highest quality experience on the platform, that's the most predictable and repeatable, instead of trying to find the lowest hanging fruit, the same people who were going to buy anyway. Andromeda is trying to find new customers who never would have bought from you otherwise. It's building long-term demand instead of short-term dopamine. But here's the catch. This doesn't always show up inside of Ads Manager. You'll see it in your Stripe account. You'll see it in your Shopify dashboard. You'll see it in your email list growing faster and search volume rising and in more people talking about you, sharing your content, Googling your brand name, or even just showing up for your organic content on Instagram or TikTok. That is Andromeda at work. It's making your entire marketing ecosystem stronger. And if you're still optimizing for ROAS right now, you're literally training the machine to work against you. You're telling Meta, don't find me new customers. Just keep showing ads to the same people who already like me. That is why your costs are going up. That's why new customers are getting more expensive, your CPMs are getting more expensive, and ultimately success feels more and more difficult. The algorithm didn't get worse, it just stopped rewarding shortcuts. And now, every bad habit you've built around chasing high ROAS is exactly what's holding you back from doubling your profit. Every hack and complexity that you add is against the rules of the new game. But when you focus on incremental lift instead of instant gratification, the growth becomes obvious. You might see your ROAS drop from a 2.3 to a 1.7, but your total profit volume could double. Your email list explodes, your search traffic jumps, repeat buyers go up because Meta's no longer trying to close the sale. It's trying to create the customer. So if you've been watching your ROAS fall and thinking your business is dying, it might actually be the best sign you've ever had. Because that drop might mean your system is finally working the way it was always meant to. And if you want to double your profits, you really need to begin to focus on how to do this properly. And in the next video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. How to take this new reality, simplifying your ad account and set up your ads so that you can double your profits in the next 90 days without spending a single extra dollar, or you could still just scale to the moon. Because Andromeda didn't ruin meta ads. It just revealed who actually knows how to play the game. Now, I hope you're enjoying watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and I want to take a moment and just say thank you for watching it. Go ahead and smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, ring the bell so you don't miss any future videos, and take a moment to join the Disruptor Academy, where you can get for free all the assistance that you need, all the things that we talk about in this video. There's a link right there. All right, with that being said, let's get back to it. Are you spending more time and money than ever and somehow earning less? It's about what you've been told to measure and what that's been costing you all along. You need to know how effectively you're actually buying profit. That is what this system is built to show you. So let's start at the beginning with step number 1, auditing the account. Before we change anything, we need to see what's really happening. And that starts by measuring GPT, gross profit per transaction. All right, let's set up GPT. In the Ads Manager, click on Columns, then go to Customize Columns, and then hit Custom and create Custom Metric. From here, in the formula box, you're going to type in average purchases conversion value minus cost per purchase. You're going to name this GPT and put it into the currency format. That's it. Just hit create metric and you're good to go. GPT tells you exactly how much profit you earn per sale. not just revenue or ROAS. Now let's take a look inside of a real ad account. At first glance, it looks fine, just a lot of ads. But look closer. There's over a dozen ad sets. 5 versions of the same creative all running at once, and different budgets, different optimizations, all running at the same time. This isn't just messy. This is confusing the system. Andromeda doesn't know what's working because every ad and every ad set is sending a different signal. So before we can scale profitably, we need to give the algorithm a clean signal to learn from. Once you have GPT in your data and you open your account and you scroll through your ads, you'll notice something fast. Margins don't always tie to actual profit volume. Some ads drive tons of sales, but very little profit. Others spend less, but bring in most of your profitable revenue. Most accounts look like this. Dozens of ads, duplicates, tests on tests. Every new ad you launch adds noise, not clarity. And under Andromeda, noise kills performance. The machine can't optimize when you're feeding it mixed signals. So the audit isn't about spend or creative volume. It's about finding clarity, identifying which ads drive the most profit, and how much it costs to buy that money. Once you've run the audit, you'll see the pattern clearly. A few ads drive almost all of your profit. Now we're ready for step number 2, value mapping the ads. Once you've audited your account, it's time to make the data visual. Because when you can see what's really happening, decisions get simpler. Here's how it works. To start, we're going to lay out a grid and draw a line across the middle and label this GPT. On the left is the worst GPT in the account, and on the right is the best. We're also going to draw a line down the middle and label this CPA. At the top is the best CPA we have, and at the bottom is the worst. Now, if an ad shows up here in the lower left, this is a liability. It has a worse than average GPT and a worse than average CPA. Essentially, it means it costs us more money than average to make less money than average on every sale. Conversely, an ad up here has a better than average GPT and a better than average CPA. These are our scalers. It costs us less money to make more profit. And you might have some ads over here with a above average CPA but a below average GPT. These are fake wins. It's a lot easier to lower the CPA than to improve the AOV. These ads are attracting the wrong type of attention. These ads are our optimizers. The GPT is great, but the CPA is too high. They're adding to the mix, but for right now, we're not concerned about these ads. What really matters is focusing on the scalers and the optimizers. The ads in the upper left and lower right will eventually move into the boxes in the lower left and the upper right. Your goal is simple. Scale the scalers, refine the optimizers, and cut the liabilities. This view instantly separates performance from profit. You can finally see which ads fuel growth and which ones quietly eat your profits alive. So this brings us to step number 3, create a plan. Now that we've seen which ads make money and which ones don't, it's time to turn that insight into action. All right. Now that we've mapped GPT against CPA, let's see what that actually looks like inside the ad account. First, we're going to go to GPT and sort highest to lowest. Then, we're going to select all of the winning ads. The one showing a low CPA, meaning it's below $166.06, and a high GPT, meaning it's over $36.17. That was the average for this campaign. Let's select those winners. Then we're going to go to the filter section and just filter by only the selected rows. We've taken 89 ads down to the 14 that were actually better than average. Unfortunately, Meta doesn't always show us the totals of our columns. So let me tell you exactly what these totals are. We have spent $48,509.43, which is roughly 34% of all of the budget. That 34% is coming in at a CPA of 138, which is 17% lower. More importantly, the GPT is coming in at $69, which is nearly twice as profitable for every transaction. The winner ads represent only 16% of the ads that were run and reflect over 40% of the purchases and revenue driven by the campaign, even though it only reflects 34% of the spend. This is where all the money is being made. And now let's flip it. We're going to go to the GPT and we're going to sort this by lowest to highest. We're going to select all of the losing ads where the CPA is above $166 and where the GPT is below the 36.17 average for this campaign. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of ads. Quick note, this ad, while having a negative GPT, has a CPA that is below the average. So it's not a double red flag, which means technically, as of right now, it's not yet a losing ad. We'll come back to ads like this in a little bit. So there we go. Now we're going to filter by these selected ads. So let me tell you the metrics on these losing ads. The total amount spent was $48,800, meaning it spent just $300 more than the winners. However, the cost per purchase was over $230, meaning it was 39% worse, and the GPT was negative $51.98. And while the losing ads spent 34% of the budget, they were responsible for a little bit less than 25% of the sales and a little bit less than 22% of the overall revenue. Interestingly enough, the losing ads represents 75% of the ads in this account. Can you see how different these are? The goal here isn't to turn everything that's bad off. It's to see clearly where your spend should actually go. This is the difference between progress and waste. When you can see this clearly, it becomes very easy to understand where you should be investing and where you should pull back. Now that we have an idea of our plan, it's time to take your first action, and this part is critical. Step 4, optimize and measure. Because we now know where our profit lives, it's time to make changes carefully. Because every change you make changes how Andromeda learns. Think of it this way. The percentage of spend equals the percentage of change and the percentage of confidence. If an ad spends 1% of your budget, turning it off is a 1% change with 99% confidence. But if an ad spends 50% of your budget, turning that off is a 50% change with 50% confidence and could very well reset everything. It's just like changing budgets too fast. If you decrease or increase your budget by 20%, you will almost assuredly disrupt the learning phase. Turning ads on or off has the same effect if it controls that much of the spend share. So here's the rule. Make the smallest move with the highest confidence of creating a net positive impact. Here are a few key takeaways that I want you to remember before we move on. Percentage of spend equals percentage of change. Small moves can have very big results. And the process so far is simple. Audit, plan, optimize, measure, and repeat. Once you get this rhythm right, Andromeda starts adapting around your best work automatically. Which brings us to step 5, programming the algorithm. This is where we stop managing the ads and start training the machine. Step number 5, programming the algorithm. This is where the real magic happens. Once you've cleaned your data and made smaller, smarter moves, Andromeda finally understands what good looks like. Andromeda doesn't just learn from results, it learns towards them. Every time an ad performs well, the system studies who engaged, who clicked, who bought, and why. Then it starts finding more people like them, faster and cheaper. But that only works if your account is clean. When you keep weak ads running, or you launch a ton of new ads, you're feeding Andromeda a bunch of mixed signals. Remove that noise and the machine compounds your best work automatically. So you're no longer just running ads. You're training the world's most powerful sales engine and human behavior conditioning device to recognize your ideal customer. The clearer the signal, the stronger the feedback loop. Every day, Andromeda gets more confident, and your results get more consistent. Once you've programmed the algorithm, you'll start to feel the shift. Your account scales smoother, and your results stay consistent, and profit begins to grow automatically. And this brings us to step 6, print money on autopilot. This is where everything comes together. After you've programmed the algorithm, the system begins scaling your best work automatically. Let's look at what this actually means. Over the last 12 weeks, Andromeda is taking the clean signals from your winning ads and compounding it. If you see here, the ad spend has 10x'd in 90 days. The actual purchase conversion value has gone from hundreds to 5 figures. The profit on this is incredible. And interestingly enough, the ROAS has gone down a little bit. In the early weeks, we were seeing a 2.9 and a 3.8. Now it's less than a 2, and we're making over $10,000 a week. Our cost per purchase is fluctuating, but our GPT is strong. And if you notice, it's continuing to maintain as we push the budget. This is what compounding interest in your data looks like. This is what the impact of removing ads that get in the way looks like. This is what clean signals can do. Look at the consistency on GPT over the last month. 136, 133, 137, 124. Look at the cost per purchase. It's gone from 158 to 193, down below 100. It's all over the place, but the GPT isn't. What matters here isn't how much we spend to acquire the transaction, it's how much profit do we make when we do. And that is incredibly consistent. This is what actually drives profit volume. This is what it looks like to grow a business. Now, full transparency around this data, because I think you deserve it. These weeks start in April. This is not some Black Friday campaign where we're taking advantage of a rising market. This is quite literally during the summer. As a matter of fact, this business is now set to spend over $100,000 a week on just this one campaign. And we predict some days to even push the $50,000 to $100,000 mark during the peak of Black Friday. And fun fact, the total number of ads running in this campaign now is 4, down from 89. And we haven't launched a new ad in over a month and a half. This is what success looks like when you're no longer chasing performance. You're managing momentum. Every week, the account gets more efficient. Andromeda gets smarter. Without launching new ads or changing budgets, we literally just cut back the ads that didn't work. That's the power of a clean signal. The machine scales what works and ignores what doesn't. But here's the part nobody talks about. Once you're scaling smoothly, launching new ads is the worst thing you can do. And that brings us to step 7, scaling intelligently. Because now the biggest opportunities aren't inside your ad account. They're everywhere else in your business. At this point, your system's clean, your data's clear, and Andromeda is working with you, not against you. You're scaling profitably. Now it's time to scale intelligently. When you increase spend on clear signals, you don't just drive more conversions, you create more visibility everywhere. More people search for your brand. More people visit your website. Your organic content reaches more individuals who are more interested in what you're trying to show because the machine knows who people who like you actually look like. Your reach compounds across the entire market. But that's not the end of the game. It's the beginning of a whole new one. because now your creative strategy has to evolve. It's not about rebuilding what's actually working. It's about understanding how Andromeda actually works. What makes an ad good in this new system? What does it look like to have ads that don't fatigue in a week, but scale week after week for months? That is the next level. That's where you stop reacting to results and start designing them. So in this next video, I'm going to show you exactly how Meta's Andromeda decides which ads to scale, which to ignore, and why some ads perform for months while others die in days. You'll understand what the algorithm is actually optimizing for, so you can build ads that scale with less stress and more success, over and over again. Real quick, if you like this video, please go ahead and like this video and subscribe so you don't miss anything else, and share it with all of your friends. YouTube loves that, and it's how we help put fact to fiction so that everyone can see more success and less stress. Also, check out Disruptor Academy. We just launched a brand new course on Andromeda 1. Literally soup to nuts, everything you need from setup to scale. Automated rules for low budgets, high budgets, literally everything you need to see more success and less stress. The link is right there. All right, that being said, let's get back to it. To show you how the machine works, we're going to use a visual aid today. These are some playing cards. Now, each one of them represents one ad. And if we have an ad set with 5 ads, well, we would need 5 cards. Okay. Now, we understand that the machine is ultimately not trying to serve one ad to one person, because personalization is all about somebody's journey through all of the touch points, all of the ads, all organic content in every order to find the best experience for each individual person. So because the customer journey is more than one touch point, what does it look like to have every possible combination of how you move through these 5 ads? There are, surprisingly enough, 120 ways to do this. You can shuffle this 5-card deck 120 different ways. That's fine. Now, that's a little bit bigger of a number than I thought, but sure, 120. That's reasonable. At a $20 CPM, that's less than a cup of coffee. Got it. So what if we add 5 more ads? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we're a no kings household here, so let's get rid of that junk. And because we're looking at 10 ads, let's pull 4 10s and a joker. Now, you might think, well, that's going to double the number. Or maybe we're going to get clever and say, oh, well, it's not double, it's going to be more than that. Perhaps it's 10 times more. Well, that's not even close. With 10 ads, that number jumps to 3.6 million possible combinations. Now again, it's a really smart system. It's using signals that don't necessarily need to show every ad in every order to everyone to know how to do things. This still feels reasonable, okay? Andromeda is smart. We're gonna get good at this. I still have faith that we can get the job done. This is probably more than we need, but okay. Now, what if we use the whole deck? What if it's 52 cards? Well, that number is massive. And I'm going to show you this number. I'm going to type it into ChatGPT here right now, just to show you how many different ways you can shuffle a 52-card deck. And if you notice, this number takes a moment to compute. Just to show it on the screen takes some time. Now, I think most people have no ability to understand how to see that number because it's crazy. I certainly don't. There's no polygon, no legion of polygons that I could draw that would properly communicate a number like that. There's no chart, no dashboard. It's inconceivable. So in an example that I found from one of my favorite YouTube channels, Secret Base with John Boyce, what I'm going to do is try to represent this as visually as I can with the medium that we have here today. So what's the smallest unit of something I'm capable of showing you on YouTube? That would be a pixel. So if I look at the screen, it's black. All but one point. That one little white dot, that's 1 pixel. I present my videos on YouTube at 1080p at 30 frames per second, so that's 62 million pixels every second. And here's one of them. That little dot, that's 1 pixel. That one little dot, that's 1 ad. Now what I want you to notice here is that as each frame progresses, every second that goes by, you're seeing 62 million pixels, okay? Here's the thing. If you took this video and made it as long as the entire time the universe has existed, and then you multiply that by 1 trillion, and then you multiply that by 1 trillion, and then you multiply that by 1 trillion again, it still wouldn't be enough pixels to show you all of the ways your 52 ads could get shown. And somewhere in that chaos, your little ad is raising its hand saying, pick me. And this is so important because the order of magnitude of difficulty of what you're asking the machine to do is something we need to appreciate. So with that in mind, let's zoom all the way back in and talk about how the machine figures that math out so that you can know how best to use it in a way that means you can rely on it to get the job done every single time. To understand how the machine does this job, we need to understand how the machine learns to do the job that we want it to do in the first place. And for most people, they think this starts with the pixel being seasoned, or trained, or learning. But the thing is, the pixel doesn't learn. The pixel doesn't know anything. It's just a piece of code. It's the paper a vote is written on. The paper itself has no idea what you're voting for, but the system counting the votes knows who won the election. That's how Meta passes information back and forth. It's a conduit. When we say the pixel is learning, what's actually happening is the system is learning based on all of the behavioral data it's collecting from your ads, your ad sets, your campaign, your website, your page, and your Instagram account. Those are all of the things that actually learn. Each one of those layers has its own data with its own audience memory. Your Facebook page knows who interacts with it. Your Instagram account knows what kind of content people engage with. Your ad account has a record of who's buying and, well, who doesn't. And together, that forms the foundation of what Meta knows about your brand and your buyer. It's just like how YouTube knows who to show your videos to. If you post on a consistent topic, YouTube knows exactly who loves your stuff. Thanks for the views, by the way. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Appreciate it. Meta works the same way. The only difference is that organic distribution is free, and paid distribution is the same system, you're just paying to use it. That's why you'll sometimes see two brands running basically identical ads, and one scales and one doesn't. The difference isn't the creative, it's the system behind it. One account is trained to know who the right audience is, and the other isn't. My buddy Matt at Javi Coffee uses this exquisitely. He's built multiple Facebook pages, each with its own personality, an audience profile, and he runs ads from each. And I'm talking ads. He's pushing 4 to 6 million a month. Every page has its own separate identity, and the system can match those personas to completely different buyers. That's how scaling for Javi Coffee works in reality. You're not just testing more ads, you're training more identities inside of Meta's system. So when we talk about the algorithm learning, we're not talking about the pixel getting smarter. We're talking about Meta understanding what kind of experience people are having on your ads, on your pages, and off the platform entirely. Because once somebody actually sees your ad, that's when the real learning actually starts. Every ad you make, every single one, is just another web page inside of Facebook or Instagram's ecosystem. When somebody scrolls their feed, Meta isn't just showing them random posts. It's essentially showing them search results. The same way that Google shows you the most relevant links. Only here, you're not typing something into a search bar. Meta already knows what you're looking for. Facebook and Instagram are constantly measuring what happens on every one of those pages and every one of those results. It's measuring the click-through rate, the bounce rate, the time spent viewing, the engagement, and even what happens after somebody clicks on any link and leaves the platform. It's analyzing that in the same way that Google is trying to figure out which search result to show first. If people scroll past your content, either organic or a paid ad, immediately that's a bad result. If they watch, engage, or click and spend time on your site, well, that's a good result. And that's where a lot of advertisers lose. They only optimize for the click, but Meta is optimizing for the whole experience. If somebody clicks on your ad and then bounces right off your site, the algorithm doesn't see that as a success. It sees that as a bad experience. You might have spent money and driven traffic in some conversion campaign, but the machine will see you as a liability. Because Meta's job is to keep people on its platforms longer and to make sure that when they leave, they come back. If your ad sends people off the platform and their experience sucks, you're not just losing a conversion. You're not just pissing people off. You're creating a bad user signal that makes your entire ad account more expensive. But if that same person enjoys their experience, if they explore your site and fire multiple pixels all over the place, maybe even buys, that's a positive signal. Now you've built more trust with the system. That's why you'll sometimes see ads with high CPMs or heavy frequencies or things marked with fatigue still perform incredibly well. It's not because they're winning the auction. It's because Meta has learned that those ads create very specific positive experiences for very specific people. They convert, they retain those users, and they drive repeat actions nearly on demand. And the algorithm rewards that. It doesn't care that your ad sends people off the platform. It cares whether those people come back happier than when they left. If they do, you'll scale cheaper, faster, and further. If they don't, your costs will climb until you stop being a risk. So what looks like random fluctuations in performance is actually Meta's way of defending its own business model. It's protecting user experience, because every bad experience costs them users, and every good experience earns them data they can use to make better predictions. And that brings us to the next part of the system, how the ads, ad sets, and campaigns work together to decide who sees what, and why some accounts can scale endlessly, while others seem to just constantly hit the wall. So let's break that down. Inside of your ad account, every campaign is built with 3 layers: the campaign, the ad set, and the ads themselves. And understanding what each one does is the difference between scaling efficiently and fighting the algorithm every single day. The ad is what the customer actually sees. It's your sales pitch. It's the creative, the copy, the promise, everything that interacts with the actual end user. The ad set is the system's way of deciding which ad to show to which person. Think of it as a decision layer. It tests, it rotates, it learns which ads performs best for each type of user, depending on where they are in the funnel and who they are to your business. And finally, the campaign sits above all of that. That's the level that decides where your budget goes, which ad set gets priority, and which audience to pursue, and how to allocate spend based on the ability of delivering a consistent result. When you give Meta a goal, say purchases, the campaign's job is to figure out which ad set can deliver that result most consistently. And that result is for the end user. Then, at the ad set, Meta figures out which ad can create the best experience and hit the goal that you set. That's the entire system: the goal, the strategy, the execution, and what's happening in real time. Now here is where advertisers really start to break things. Every time you add new ads into an ad set, Meta has to learn how those ads fit into this entire complicated decision process. It's not resetting, it has to relearn. The system has to reestablish confidence in which ads are most predictable and reliable. Because remember, Meta's entire objective is consistency of end user experience. It wants homeostasis. It wants predictable delivery, stable, positive user experiences. When you dump a lot of new ads into a live ad set, you're introducing a ton of chaos and instability into what was otherwise a confident delivery system for positive experiences. That's why you'll see the learning phase kick back in. The system is recalibrating. It's testing new pitches and rediscovering what works, and it's testing those new ads at the bottom of the funnel to see how things work. And this is why creative testing needs structure. If you test without isolating variables, you're making the system start over every single time, and you're going to get a ton of false positives while losing all of the statistical significance and confidence the machine is built. But if you let it learn in a controlled environment, Meta will not only learn faster, but it'll make better decisions at every single level. So think of it like this. The ad is what convinces the person ultimately to do something and earns their attention. The ad set is what decides which ad to show, and the campaign decides which ad set to get the spend. If you build that hierarchy cleanly and give the system the opportunity of getting confidence, it will reward you with cheaper traffic of higher quality more consistently so that you can scale faster. But when you constantly reset it, you're forcing the system to relearn the same lessons you already paid for. That's why great media buyers don't just manage ads. They manage stability. They build systems the algorithm can trust to bring the same type of user in over and over again, so the rest of your business model can take advantage of that traffic that you've made every decision that happens after the click on, from optimization to AOV to LTV. Now let's talk about one of the most misunderstood pieces of all, budget control. Because the way you set your budgets determines how much freedom the machine has to do its job. Here's the truth. Every time you try to control the system, you make it a little bit worse at doing what it's built to do. You can put up guardrails, but absolute control is a problem. When you set ad set budget optimization, or ABO, you're telling Meta exactly how much money each ad set must spend every single day. It sounds like control, but what you're really doing is removing the machine's ability to make intelligent decisions in real time. Think of the campaign as the decision maker. Its job is to look across all of your ad sets and decide which one is producing the best result right now. And this is happening in microseconds, millions of times a day. When you run ABO, you take that control away. You're forcing every ad set to spend a set number, even the ones that aren't working, on days where it might be good or bad. And when that happens, you create waste and frustration and a ton of bad user experiences. Each ad set still has to spend the budget you've assigned, even if it's targeting the wrong people, or running bad ads, or just underperforming in the auction, even if you're just pissing a whole bunch of people off. You're forcing bad ads to keep running and starving the good ones that could be scaling. And remember what we said earlier. Meta's goal is consistency. It wants predictable delivery and a good end user experience. When you lock budgets at the ad set level, you take away its ability to balance those experiences in real time. By the way, the same thing happens if you have multiple campaigns. Now, when you set the budget at the campaign level and you isolate around one campaign per business objective, you're doing the opposite. You're giving the campaign manager freedom to move money wherever performance is best. You're saying, here's the goal. You decide how to get there. The campaign looks across every ad set, sees which one is producing the best results for the lowest cost, which one can talk to the right person on auctions you could win right now, and automatically shifts the spend to it in real time. Again, millions of times in microseconds. That means your budget naturally finds efficiency instead of being trapped in underperforming segments. It allows you to be proactive instead of reactive. That's why Advantage Plus and CBO systems always outperform manual control at scale. They're not guessing, they're optimizing dynamically using data you could never process on your own. Stuff you could never conceive of. And the bigger your account gets, the more critical this becomes. Because as you scale, you're not just managing more ads, you're managing more complexity. The machine can see patterns across millions of impressions and billions of people across every ad set, every audience, every time of day. You can't. No human can. And that's why Meta built Andromeda, to build a smarter mousetrap to control all of this chaos. People just spamming the machine. It's a smarter, faster way to make sure the right person sees the right ad at the right time without you needing to guess or interfere. And the only thing standing between you and better performance is how much you try to control it. So if you want to scale, stop trying to be the algorithm. Your job is not to outthink or hack or micromanage the machine. Your job is to train it and then trust it. You give it clean data, clear goals, and the freedom to make intelligent decisions and learn. And it'll outpace anything you can do manually, and it will keep getting better over time. And that's the real power of CBO and why Advantage Plus isn't some new tech. It's the inevitable evolution of Meta doing what it does best, learning faster than you can, on more data than anybody else on the face of the planet. The truth here is simple. The machine doesn't need more ads or more rules or more guesses or more micromanagement from you. It needs more clarity and more opportunity to learn. It needs clean data and good experiences and consistent signals. That's how you scale. Not by adding complexity, but by removing it. Simple scales, complex fails. That's the foundation of everything we've been talking about today and this entire channel. And in the next video, I'm going to show you exactly how to apply it. Because while most advertisers are still weaponizing volume of ads, you are going to learn how to weaponize data. To scale with precision, to make the algorithm your ally, to grow when everybody else is guessing. That next video, it's the playbook for success. It's how you scale when everybody else is stuck. And it's how you finally win by making the complex simple. Why is everyone suddenly struggling with meta ads, yet others are scaling 10 times easier than ever? It's not luck. They're doing something that breaks one of the most important rules in the book. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what they're doing differently, the real secret behind why their ad accounts are exploding, and how you can scale your ads faster than ever before. This is a Bugatti Chiron Super Sport 300. Its engine is an 8-liter quad turbocharged W16 masterpiece. 4 banks of cylinders, 16 pistons, 4 turbochargers, screaming in perfect synchronization. Every one of its 3,500 individually machined parts is hand assembled in Molsheim, France. A mechanical orchestra capable of producing over 1,500 horsepower with a top speed of over 300 miles an hour. And for my international audience, that's nearly 500 kilometers per hour. It's breathtaking. It's perfection sculpted in titanium and fire. It's also unbelievably complex. So complex that an engine replacement alone costs over $850,000. And maintenance takes days of precision disassembly by the highest paid technicians in the world. One mistake, one faulty sensor, and your whole system shuts down. And then there's the Mazda Miata, 2-liter engine with 200-something moving parts. It won't hit 300 miles an hour, but it could also go 300,000 miles before ever needing to be repaired. What you want is a Bugatti, but what you need is a Mazda. The Bugatti is a masterpiece, but that masterpiece will burn through an entire tank of gas in 9 minutes. 9 minutes, and then it's empty. You can't scale that. You don't want ads that fatigue in days. You want ads that work every day. You need something reliable, a system we can throw more money into and make more money out of. And if it breaks, we can fix it fast and cheap. But somewhere along the way, a small group of people convinced the whole industry that the way to win was to build Bugattis. They were agencies, ones that had a media buying and a creative department. They built repair shops first, then told everyone they needed supercars just to go to the grocery store. And that is where Launch More Ads, Test 50 Creatives, and Outpace Fatigue all came from. The illusion that power and complexity were the same thing. Most advertisers think more ads mean more chances to win. But all they're really doing is making their machine more difficult to run. Every new campaign, every new creative, every new test adds friction. Now the system has to learn dozens of new patterns at once, and your results become unpredictable, volatile, chaotic, and expensive. The truth is, simple scales. A well-tuned engine, or ad account, gets faster and stronger the longer it runs. But when you're constantly rebuilding it, you're spending more time and energy just trying to keep it where it is, instead of letting it take you to where you want to go. So let's address the elephant in the room, shall we? If what most people call ad fatigue is just self-inflicted speed bumps on the road to success, if that's really just a myth, what's actually going on? Well, let's unpack it. Every time you launch a new ad, Meta has to stop and relearn everything that it already knew. It starts feeding those new ads to the warmest audiences first, the people who already know your brand. So of course, those ads get quick wins. But those wins come at the expense of old ads that were already doing the real work. Now, your system thinks the new ad is a winner and your old one is dying. But all that's happened is you gave credit to the last ad in a very long customer journey. You didn't solve fatigue, you just reshuffled credit. Now this is fine when you only launch a few, but when you launch a few dozen or a few hundred, you can begin to see how this spirals out of control, putting most of your money where it does the least good, and the funnel drives up. That's why your winner ads burn out so fast, not because the audience is tired, but because the system never gets a chance to learn what actually works. And the focus on a win at any cost today means far less opportunity for wins tomorrow. Then there's the second myth, that you've exhausted your audience. Well, let me tell you, I used to spend over $1 million a day for single accounts. And even at that level, it took a week to reach 85% of Americans just 2.5 times. Back then, CPMs were 10 times cheaper than they are today. You would need to spend $10 million a day to truly burn through your audience. So if you're spending anything less than that, you haven't even scratched the surface. What looks like audience fatigue isn't exhaustion at all. It's just a reflection of effort spent in the wrong place. Too much energy at the bottom of the funnel, not enough at the top. When you prioritize efficiency over opportunity, you don't actually scale. You make the machine annoy the same people more and more instead of learning how to find new ones. And the more you interfere, the slower it learns who really loves your content. But if you do nothing, if you give this system time to learn how to put your ads together and who enjoys seeing your content, it will start finding more new people every single day. Scale isn't built in a weekend. It's built the same way compounding interest grows wealth. If you only up your budget by 5% 3 times a week, I know it doesn't sound like much, but if you start at $500 today, you'll be spending $130,000 a day 1 year from now. That's what patience does. That's what consistency compounds into. Overnight successes always take a long time to make. Malcolm Gladwell said it best in his book Outliers. It takes 10,000 hours to reach mastery. If you truly want your ad account to be reliable, predictable, and powerful, why wouldn't you give it the time to become a master? Mazda knows this better than almost anyone. The company started back in 1920 building machine tools in Hiroshima, long before it ever built cars. Over the next century, they perfected a process built on patience, iteration, and learning. They created the rotary engine in the 1960s, a piece of engineering so simple and so unique that it powered everything from sports cars to aircraft. But what truly made Mazda special wasn't innovation for innovation's sake. It was understanding why their machines worked. Every generation they refined. Every model they simplified. And that's how they build cars that can run for 250,000 miles or more. Not because they added more parts, but because they mastered how each piece fit together. That's how you build something that lasts. You don't guess. You don't rebuild it every few months. You learn how it works so deeply that you can make it better with every turn of the key. And that's exactly what we're going to do next. Because Meta's system, the machine behind your ads, isn't magic. It's not a black box. It's a machine that wants to learn how to win for you. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to see inside that machine. You'll learn how to know exactly what Meta is doing for you with every ad you run, so you can understand the work it's doing, measure it, improve it, and get faster and more profitable every single day. Because once you understand the system, you stop fighting it. You start scaling with it. That's the real secret. Simple scales, complex fails. Andromeda is confusing everyone, and people's results are plummeting. Because they don't know that they only need to care about 4 metrics in their dashboard. I'm going to share those 4 metrics and show you how to understand them and help you scale your campaigns faster and easier than you ever thought possible. For years, advertisers have stared at Facebook like it's this mysterious black box, trying to guess what's happening inside. And I am 100% guilty of this. But here's the truth. Meta isn't a black box. The algorithm isn't hiding anything from you. It's showing you exactly what it's doing. Most people just don't know how to read it. If you look at it squarely, and I mean that literally, you'll realize something simple. Every ad inside of Meta has 4 sides. 4 simple metrics that show you exactly what's happening inside the machine. And if you can measure them, you can improve them, turning success in the ad account from feeling like a slot machine in Vegas to a simple process of setting up dominoes and knocking them down. So let's start with the first one. Spend. Most advertisers think spend is just a budget control, something that you set and Meta follows. But that's not how it works. Spend is a signal. Spend is a KPI. It's Meta's way of saying, this ad is doing what I want, keep going. When Meta spends more on an ad, it's not random. It's because that ad is creating a better experience for users. The people seeing it are reacting positively. They're engaging with it, clicking on links. And when they do, they're firing tons of pixel events on the site. Remember, Meta's real product isn't ads, it's attention. And attention is fragile. The algorithm spends where people are happy to give their attention. So when spend climbs, that's not an accident. That's the machine investing in your shared business goals. When spend drops, that's not punishment. It's feedback that the ad isn't creating the same value for the platform anymore. So instead of asking, why is Meta wasting my budget on this ad? Ask, what is this spend trying to tell me? Spend tells you which ad is working for the algorithm, not against it. This is your quality control. So that is the first side of our square. Spend. It tells you what the machine wants to invest in. So let's move to the second side of the square. Frequency. Frequency is one of the most misunderstood metrics in all of advertising. Most people think it means how many times somebody saw your ad. And they panic when it goes above 3. My question is simply, 3 over what? 3 per day? 3 per week? 3 per month? Is that a bad thing? Is that even enough? There's a psychological principle called the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. It's also known as the frequency illusion. Put simply, it comes in 3 phases. First is frequency bias. You learn about something new, and suddenly you notice it everywhere. This might take 3 to 5 impressions. Then comes selection bias. You focus more on that thing and ignore the times you don't see it. This might take 5 to 8 or even 10. Finally, comes confirmation bias. You expect to see it more, and every time you do, it reinforces your belief that this is common and important. To get to that level of familiarity, that moment where your brain just knows it real, often takes well more than 12 exposures. That's how all advertising works. Repetition builds recognition. Recognition builds trust, and trust drives action. Ubiquity equals legitimacy. Now here's the important part. That's not what the frequency metric inside of Facebook is showing you at all. The frequency number inside of your dashboard isn't measuring one person's experience. It's telling us who is seeing your ad, When we measure frequency, you should only look at it when we break the results down by day. That's how we can understand which audience Meta decided to use that ad for. For example, a frequency by day of 1.05 means that 5% of people saw that ad twice today. That means 95% of your spend on that ad is upper funnel. That is pure prospecting. A frequency of 1.95 means that 95% of people saw your ad twice today. That means 95% of your spend is lower funnel. It's retargeting. And for the record, you can absolutely have a 1.05 frequency inside of a retargeting audience. And you can absolutely have a 1.9 frequency in a worldwide audience with no exclusions at all. Because the audience pool you target isn't the same thing as how the machine is using your ad. The creative does the targeting. This is how we can see who is being shown each ad and how much we spend on them. So now we understand why the machine is spending on one ad versus another, and we understand who the machine is spending your money on. The third side of the square is CPM, and this one tells you how much people actually like your ad. CPM is how much you pay to deliver an ad 1,000 times. But the real story behind CPM is quality of experience. Because remember, your ad is competing for attention in the same feed as organic content. If people enjoy seeing your ad, it earns cheaper traffic. If they hate it, the platform taxes you with a higher CPM. And that's the cost of bad content. It's a tax on attention. Low CPMs mean that your ad is interesting to strangers, and a high CPM means it only works on people who already care. And let's be honest, nobody opened Instagram hoping to see your ad. You're a billboard in the sky blocking the beautiful sunset. But if you can make that billboard entertaining, or at least interesting, Meta rewards you with cheaper distribution. This is like going viral with an organic post. Your real job of running ads is simple. Make sure the right ad gets shown to the right audience with the right experience. Do that, and the machine will scale you, as long as we get one more thing where it needs to be. Cost per result, or CPR, or CPA, cost per acquisition, is the metric everyone obsesses over. It's the one that makes advertisers panic, brag, or hit the refresh button on the browser 1,000 times a day. And I am 100% guilty of hunting that dopamine rush. But here's the truth. Cost per result doesn't tell you how good an ad is. It just tells you how much credit for performance that ad should take. A low CPR doesn't mean the ad created demand. It just means that it was there when somebody was finally ready to buy. Conversely, a high CPR doesn't always mean that an ad is bad. Sometimes it's just doing the heavy lifting earlier in the customer journey. Because remember, not every ad is supposed to make a sale. You need a full funnel. You can't just run cost caps against add to carts and expect to scale to the moon. It just doesn't work like that. CPR is a measure of how well that ad is doing its job. It's how we put quality to all the other quantification. So, now that we've walked through all four sides of an ad, spend, frequency, CPM, and cost per result, and by the way, this is what we call a 4PI analysis. Here's how to read it in context. High spend, low frequency, low CPM, and a bad CPR, that's a top of funnel ad. It's building attention and creating demand. Low spend, high frequency, high CPM, and a good CPR, that's a bottom of funnel ad. It's converting the people in the funnel. The reason ads break and accounts can't scale is because most folks try to spend as much as they can at the bottom of the funnel. Your job is to get your ads working together so the system stays balanced, profitable, and scalable. And that balance is going to look different for everyone. I've always said data is only ever as useful as it is actionable. Now, no matter how good your balance is, if your creative isn't built to work with the algorithm, you'll always be fighting uphill. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to build and test creative the right way, so that you can replace the ads that aren't doing a good job with ones aligned with your success. Because we can only ever optimize so far, and if you want to scale to the moon, you're going to need to know the simple way to use this scientific method to create ads good enough to solve your problems and to see more success with less stress. Remember, simple scales, complex fails. I'm going to show you why creative testing has never been about finding more winning ads, and how to build a simpler system that makes scaling a lot easier. To really get started, we first have to understand what an ad really is. Every piece of content, whether it's paid or organic, is its own web page on the site of Facebook or Instagram. And social media is basically just a Google search results page with content they think you'll like. For every piece of content, Meta is tracking loads of things, but what you really need to know is they give every ad a score based on how likely someone is to engage with your content, how likely someone is to click on a link, how long they stay on your site, and what actions they take when they do click on that link. And every new ad you launch starts at 0. Now, when Meta's trying to test a brand new ad, it doesn't just show it to anybody. It wants every ad to have a consistently high score, so that users have a consistently good experience. So they show it to the people most likely to engage and click and do things on your site, and inherently those people are at the bottom of your marketing funnel. The problem is, every new ad tested there steals attention and spend from the proven ads that were already working, even if they're in a different campaign. The success of every new ad in testing essentially comes at the expense of an older one that was already proven to do a good job, which makes that previous ad look worse. This is what is often labeled as ad fatigue. Old ads look worse over time, according to attribution, because new ads steal the sale at the 11th hour. And because all of the ads are launched at the bottom of the funnel doesn't grow, your results are less incremental, and customer acquisition costs continue to climb. So then, the experts tell you to launch new ads, more and more of them, faster and faster, just to effectively maintain the funnel that's already there. So you spend time and money working harder and harder to basically make growth more difficult. And if you want to make a lot more money, well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. Now at this point, I want you to know that I hear you. You are screaming at the screen right now. But Charlie, what about creative diversity? Creative diversity is not just spamming the machine. Andromeda was built specifically because too many people were spamming the machine, and it penalizes anyone that does that. True creative diversity simply means you have enough ads that speak to enough people in enough different ways and moments so that every impression gives someone a good experience. That's it. And you don't need 100 ads to do that. A handful will do, as long as they each do something different and work together. The best way to think about this is like the Olympic rings. 5 rings, all connected. The 3 rings on top are your prospecting ads, the ones that help you find new people. Maybe one of them is a UGC video that feels personal. One is a testimonial that builds trust. And one is a demo that shows how your product works. Then there are 2 rings on the bottom, your retargeting ads. These are reminders. They speak to people who already saw your other ads and just need a little nudge or an extra reason to come back, maybe overcome some objection. 5 ads, that's it. Not hundreds, not spammy chaos, just a small team where every ad has a role, and they all work together to give people a better experience. And none of them have to be perfect or even the best possible at their position. All that matters is that your investment portfolio of complementary ads are sustainable and good enough to increase the budget. When you build your account like this, the machine doesn't get confused, it gets smarter. These ads don't fatigue, they improve with more data. And you can spend your money faster, smarter, and more profitably, because now Meta actually understands your business. It knows who to show your ads to and in which order. The CMO of Meta, Alex Schultz, in his new book, Click Here, tells us that when Zuck is talking about personalization, he's not talking about each individual ad. He's talking about the collective experience of all content, organic and paid. So all of this forces a very surface level question. So when should we test? And how do we do it? Well, to start, if you can increase your budget, don't test new ads. It's really that simple. If your system is stable, your results are solid, and every time you raise your budget, your performance holds, the absolute worst thing you could do is launch new ads. Because you've already solved the most important problem. Can I spend more money? If the answer is yes, don't go looking for new problems to fix. You've already won. But if the answer is no, what if you can't raise your budget without everything breaking? That's when creative testing actually matters. And this is where we use something called the scientific method. It's simple. You have a control. The system you already know works. Even if it doesn't work, good enough. And then you test one variable at a time to see if it makes the whole thing better. That's what creative testing is supposed to be. A way to make a small improvement to get back to where you can say yes again. So instead of launching hundreds of random new ideas, you look at your Olympic rings, your 5-ad system, and you ask, which one of these isn't doing its job? Then that's the weak link you focus on. You test to strengthen the part that's slipping, not steal, and weaken the part that already works. Because testing isn't about chasing winners. It's about keeping the system strong enough to scale. That's how the best advertisers grow. They don't guess. They don't throw spaghetti at the wall. They don't spam the platform. They run experiments one variable at a time. And every experiment answers the only question that matters. Can I spend more money tomorrow? If the answer is yes, you raise your budget. If the answer is no, you test carefully, deliberately until it is. That's the scientific method. That is creative testing done right. Now, remember earlier when I told you that creative testing has never been about finding more winning ads? Here's why that's so important. A single winner can't scale because one ad, no matter how strong it looks in the dashboard, can't carry the weight of the whole system for infinite growth. Sure, you can find one that crushes it. It drives conversions, looks amazing in attribution, and for a while, it makes you feel like you've cracked the code. I've personally have had ads that go and take an account from 200 a day to 2 million in 6 months. Under Outfit famously went from 50 grand a month to $1 million a week, and a large part of that growth was on the back of one ad. But it didn't exist alone. And eventually, it stopped working. Because here's the thing, when you try to scale on the back of one ad, everything falls apart. Why? Because that winning ad was never built to hold the weight of an entire account. It's one player, not a team. And that's exactly what happens inside of most ad accounts. I'm totally guilty of this myself. Advertisers chase another winner, and then another, and then another, and making all other ads look worse. Running ads is a team sport. A winning ad can only really do one job exceptionally well. And every ad should have a specific role on the team. Michael Jordan on his best day isn't gonna beat a full basketball team. Messi, as great as he is, isn't winning a match against 10 players and a goalie all by himself. You don't score more points by putting 2 quarterbacks on a football field. The way you win is by having a team of complementary players, each built to do a specific job, all working towards the same goal, consistent and profitable growth. That's what Meta rewards, and that's what Andromeda was built for. Clarity, consistency, and a system that can win again and again. The brutally honest truth is that Meta doesn't care how clever your ads are. And the real definition of success isn't vanity metrics like ROAS or CTR or CPA. It's saying yes to the simple question, can you spend more money tomorrow? If the answer is yes, you're winning. If it's no, then it's not your ads that are broken, it's your system. Fix that and everything else gets easier. That's how you make Meta work for you, not the other way around. And if you want to know exactly how to take this system and scale your business to the moon without breaking the account, that's exactly what I'll show you in this next video. And remember, simple scales, complex fails. For most people, and I was absolutely one of them, Scaling always felt like a bit of a black box. You chase high ROAS and test a lot of new ads, maybe focus on lowering your CPA, and sometimes it even works for a while. You find something that performs and you think, this is it, I've finally cracked it. But then you raise the budget, and that's when you start saying things like, my CPA is too high, my ad's fatigued, or Meta's broken. And before you know it, that ad that was printing money yesterday can't even hold the account together today. But the truth is, none of that is really the reason your performance fell apart. Because scaling isn't about CPA. It isn't about ROAS, and it definitely isn't about finding a single winning ad. Those things can make your account look healthy for a moment, but they don't make it scalable. Here's what most advertisers get wrong. They confuse performance with growth. They measure the cost of an action, but they very rarely measure the value, both for today or for the future. Because if your ads can't withstand pressure when you raise the budget, I'd argue you don't really have a winner. You just have a racehorse that got you here. But if you really want to scale to the moon, it doesn't matter how fast that racehorse runs. You're gonna need a rocket. And that's what we're gonna unpack next. The biggest myth in Facebook advertising is the winning ad. Every advertiser talks about it. That one creative that drops CPA, spikes ROAS, and makes it feel like you've cracked the code. But the problem is that all of those metrics, CPA and ROAS, etc., they're based entirely on attribution, not scale. They're measuring the efficiency of scoring a single point, not how many more points you can put on the scoreboard. Because at the end of the day, there's really only one scoreboard that matters, your bank account. It's like saying the reason you finished the marathon was because of the cup of water you grabbed at mile 25. Sure, it helped, but it's not why you crossed the finish line. When most advertisers say, this ad's a winner, what they're really saying is, this ad did a good job of getting shown to somebody who was ready to buy. And that's fine. If it wasn't you making the sale, it might have been somebody else. And in that case, you'd have a little less money in your bank account. But that's not scale. Because when you raise your budget, your ads will get shown to more people, which inherently means that a smaller percentage of them are going to be those folks who are ready to buy. And this means your cost, according to attribution, will go up. And if you're measuring based on cost instead of value, this is where things start to break. But that's not exactly true. Most brands fall into one of two traps. They're either trying to build profit through ads, spending money to see if they can make money, or they're competing for the wrong metric entirely, trying to win the game of low CPA and high ROAS without realizing those numbers don't scale. The first group doesn't have a working business model yet. They're trying to buy validation with ad spend. The second group has a good business, but they're optimizing for the wrong things. They're focused on looking efficient, not on compounding growth. And neither approach builds something sustainable. Simply put, if you want to grow a business, you have to invest some of your profits into acquiring more opportunity for a model that already works. Everything else is noise. Most advertisers are trying to see who's best at handing out cups of water at the 25th mile, when the real game is learning how to run further every single day. So let's talk about how to stack the dollars with something that actually makes a lot more sense. Look at how your business makes money. Ask yourself, what's the thing that happens right before someone buys? Then do more of that. Compare your numbers to industry benchmarks. You might think your funnel is broken, but if your landing page is converting at 3% and everybody else is at 1%, your problem isn't conversion, it's traffic volume. If your landing page converts at 10%, that's astronomically high. You don't need a better ad, you need more people seeing it. Every time you triple your traffic, your conversion rate can cut in half and you'll still make more money. But if your conversion rate is below 1%, no amount of traffic will fix it. You can't scale broken math. That's when you improve the quality of traffic or the quality of what happens after someone clicks. Higher quality traffic and a better experience let you make more money from the attention you're already paying for. Those eyeballs you've already earned. Now that sounds great, but let's put this into a real world example. Let's use the example of a Manhattan steakhouse, and we're going to use the one right around the corner from my apartment, the Old Homestead. After tipping the waiter, it'll cost you about $20 to buy a salad that they probably spent $2 to make. Now that's a sizzling hot profit today. But they also sell some of the best steak anyone's ever had. Even if they break even on the first sale, the folks who have the opportunity to enjoy that steak are gonna come back again and again. And when they do, the marketing cost for that second and third sale is dramatically less than the first one. Plus, I might bring some friends. Remember, the volume of profit you make on the first sale is much less than any other, and the math isn't even close. You can live and die by your ability to get anyone to buy a salad once. Or you can build a business around the people who keep coming back for that steak again and again and again. So I urge you to sell the steak, not the sizzle. That's your hero offer. As Dave Fogarty, Sam Ovens, Alex Hormozi, Gary Vee say, one offer, one audience, one platform. Your hero offer is the core of your cash flow engine. And cash flow, not attributed profit, is the lifeblood of scale. Once you know your best offer and your best customer, the rest is easy math. Your only job is to keep your blended net average order value above your blended net average cost per sale, and then do more of it. So the way you scale is by being able to spend as much as you can to acquire your best customer and have them buy your best offer, the one that gets them to buy again and again. So what you're really doing is scaling the volume of the far more profitable transaction. Then you take a percentage of your profit and invest it into acquiring even more of those exact same customers. And at that point, what you've paid to acquire the customer becomes less and less important. And you can afford to spend more and more on getting those customers, because these far less profitable transactions represent a smaller and smaller percentage of all the sales that you make. This is what economists call a decreasing marginal cost of acquisition, a natural byproduct of scaling systems where every incremental customer costs less to acquire as retention and repeat purchase rates rise. That's how you create a compounding flywheel of profitable growth that becomes more and more sustainable and scalable and predictable the more you lean into it. And everything else becomes much, much simpler. Because instead of launching 1,000 ads to attract 1,000 people, to sell 1,000 products for 1,000 different reasons, to make the least profitable transaction slightly better according to attribution, you're actually making the far more profitable transactions easier to get and a larger percentage of your overall total revenue. So now your job becomes answering 3 simple questions. First, how many types of customers do you need to try to buy? Second, how much can you afford to acquire each customer? And third, what do you do to make that number higher? That's it. Your only mission is to keep asking, can I spend more money tomorrow? And if the answer is yes, you raise your budget. If the answer is no, you fix the problem. Is your transaction volume too low? That's going to make your CPAs too high. Is your average order value too low? That means you're not profitable enough on any sale. Are you spending too much money on the wrong people? That means you're investing in destroying your business. And remember, all of these are completely net blended. Total money in, total money out, and how many transactions you've got. The simplest way to grow any brand is to add budget in a systematic, controlled fashion. My favorite way, increase the budget by 5% 3 times a week. Because you know your unit economics, you stop chasing performance. You start engineering predictable growth and a flywheel. Your job becomes protecting the yes. Eliminate the things that make you say no. That is how you scale a business. Remember, the whole point of ads is to amplify a business model that already works. If your business model depends on hacking CPA, you've chosen a battle you cannot win. But if you amplify a model built on repeat transactions and compounding cash flow, you have built something scalable. So next time you ask yourself, can I scale? Make sure the answer is yes. Because if you start with $500 a day today and raise your budget by just 5% 3 times a week, you'll be spending over $130,000 a day a year from now. So the real question is, what in your business is so important that it's not worth doing that? Scaling isn't about chasing trends or hacks. It's about eliminating friction, feeding what works, and protecting the future that you're building. So until next time, I'll see you on the internet.